get educated. You have mentors, coaches, blogs, books, podcasts. There are also some free masterminds as well. Just get educated first so you'll know exactly what you're getting into, and just start. You don't have to be perfect to start investing. Just know something and then get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people who were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have Keishia Kennedy. Keisha, we're so glad you joined us. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, yes, again, thank you, Keisha, for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Keishia Kennedy. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. However, I am physically residing in Kuwait. So I live abroad. I am a military contractor and I was in the military. So I am a veteran. My father was in the military, so I'm a military brat. And so I've lived all over the world. I was born in Germany. I've lived in California, Kentucky, Colorado, back to Virginia. Went back to Germany and graduated high school. And then my father's last duty assignment was teaching military science at Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU. Go Rams, go. So I graduated from there, have a Bachelor of Science with a concentration in chemistry. And then he also taught at University of Richmond military science. And so during that time, I joined the Army National Guard to pay for my college because my parents are originally from Tampa, Florida. And I didn't want to pay for out-of-state tuition, and I didn't want my parents to as well. And so I joined and I deployed to Kuwait for 1 year, returned back, graduated, and then came back to Kuwait as a contractor in 2009 and 2009 until 2013. And so that's when my real estate investment journey started. Self-taught, no idea what I was doing. And I purchased my first single family home in 2011 after the market had crashed. I'll never forget, it was $29,500. It came with a lot next door and it was built in 2010. So it was less than a year old. My parents went there, viewed the property and said, hey, it looks good. All you have to do is just pull up the flooring. And I just figured it out as I went along. And then the next year I bought another bank foreclosure home and continued the cycle until last year when I decided, hey, I want to scale. I want a little bit more than just single family homes. And so I ended up purchasing a apartment, but it was through apartment syndication as a limited partner passively. And so my first deal was 27 units in Richmond, Virginia, followed by 19 units in Scranton, Pennsylvania, student housing, and then 81 units in Florence, Kentucky, and then 24 units in Columbia, South Carolina. All of those are passive investments that I made within the last 3 months in last year in 2021. And then I had the opportunity to be a co-GP on 56 units in Waco, Texas, followed by 120 units in Des Moines, Iowa. And currently we are working on 174 units that will be closing next month. So a lot has transpired over the last year. Previously, I did have a business online, Kennedy Remedy Fitness, and I decided to close that because I wanted to focus on Kennedy Remedy investments. So that's a little bit about myself, probably more than you wanted to hear, right?
No. That's a great story. And it's amazing starting at a $29,000 bank foreclosure and then what you've turned that into. Where was that first property at?
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So give me a few of those. I'll take 10. Yeah. Please.
Yes,
Please.
Yes,
wow.
Right.
Wow.
And I still have my rentals. I still have them. I still manage them. I have a handyman in place. And so I want to hold on to those since, I mean, they paid for themselves, right? So it's just pay cash flow at this point. Right. I paid cash for them.
Right. Well, that's great. I mean, especially, obviously from the bottom of the market, great entry timing to start acquiring those and a huge discount, I'm sure, like REO from the bank. So yeah, that's amazing. And it's not like, obviously you jump into something full force as you got more and more involved from the LP and then transition to the GP side, which is great. What was your initial spark though that got you interested in real estate in general? Was it a book you read, or just thinking of different ways for income or future planning, or what kind of started that?
Yeah. So I will say that my father and my grandmother and my great grandfather had property. However, no one sat me down, but I was very observant as a child, and I seen my father traveling to Tampa, working on his rental property, and then also he had property in Virginia. So I knew that it was making some good money. And so when I came overseas the first time as a contractor, I had some money saved up and I wanted to make my money work for me. And so I knew that I needed to invest it. And that has been the best thing that I've done. And so I took a leap of faith, and I'm so proud that I figured it out as I went along.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. And by the way, my father, my wife's father was career military, and then retired and went to work as a contractor afterward. It's some of the alphabet agencies, and then but my father was military. He wasn't career, but I was actually born in Germany as well. So
okay, we got that in common. Military brat.
Exactly.
Military brats are the best, man.
Yeah.
My wife know how to adapt.
My wife got to live in some pretty choice places, so it's very cool. Yeah, very
absolutely.
cool. So Keisha, as you think back to, maybe it was along, your perhaps in your National Guard days, or perhaps, as some of your military contractor days, is there a funny story you can share, something that happened to you along the way?
Funny story. Let's see. Can it be when I had my first job, I guess? When I first.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So my first job was working at Anthony's Pizza. Okay. I was a cashier and I made pizzas as well. And so one day I was at the cash register, and a customer was paying for their food. And so she told me that she gave me a 20 instead of a 10. And I knew that she gave me a 10. So I had to take the cash register, count out all the money. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me. So I think that it's a funny story because it allowed me to transition to my second job, which was a tax-free job as a bagger at the commissary. You know what a commissary is, right? Sure. It's the military grocery store. Mm-hmm. And so when I look back at it, I was just like, man, I really resigned from a job because someone said that they gave me a different, amount of money. Mm-hmm. If I had to do it again, I would probably, try to stick it out. But the joke was on me, and I found a little humor in that. So that's why I wanted to share it with you guys.
Yeah, actually, I think my first job was, this is probably dating myself. I'm a year or two older than you, Keisha. But anyway, so I actually worked as a cashier at a grocery store, and at that point, it was still punch the number in for the not scanning. It's still punch the number in for the item. And it was so slow and ridiculous. It was painful.
You see, they just upgraded that year from the abacus, didn't they? Was it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's how it was at Anthony's Pizza. I had to manually push in how much the customer was paying. Yeah. So a lot has changed. These kids will never understand what we went through back in the day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Keisha, what's a deciding factor for changing your career path? You sound like you're in the midst of the transition now, and you said as far as the financial stability was kind of what led you down that path. Is there a certain point where you're going to transition from the contractor role you're doing now into the full-time syndication side of it?
Yes. 2 weeks ago, I have decided to leave Kuwait by December 2023. So that gives me another year to take my income from W-2 and continue to invest in my 401 and diversify into other asset classes. And then from there, I'll be 40 years old next year, and I'll be retiring from the W-2 and just continue to build Kennedy Remedy Investments and to help others along the way when they want to invest passively. That brings me so much joy. And it's a passion of mine that I don't feel like as though I am working. Yes, there is a time zone difference, of course. So I'm working a little bit more than the average because I'm sacrificing a lot, but I enjoy helping others along the way as I am investing in assets, especially veterans and minorities. There aren't too many Black women in the commercial space, as you both probably know. And so I'm being a voice for others to let them know that, hey, as I mentioned earlier, my first job was working at Anthony's Pizza. If I can, if I can work there and have these assets and these apartments that I'm investing in, so can you. So I'm inspiring as many people as possible along the way.
That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your forthcoming retirement. Right. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And I tell you what, and I tell you what, again, it's, we talk about this frequently on our show. It is amazing how many people don't realize that real estate investing is not inaccessible. You can do it. You obviously, you might have to figure something out. Maybe you've got to save some money to be able to start doing that. But, frankly, again, we also talk about this, that it's crazy that this is called alternative investing when I'm pretty sure real estate was here before stocks. So, but everybody has the mindset. Obviously, it's beat into us with the advertising and the fact that if you have a 401k, you really can only put it into the stock market, and it's probably choose between A, B, and C mutual fund, but the reality is that real estate investing was here first. It's such, where else are you going to be able to, buy $100,000 property and have the bank lend you 75 or 80% of the money?
Correct.
You're not going to do that in the stock market. Maybe you can borrow on margin from your brokerage house, but that's like Russian roulette. I mean, to me, that's just dangerous. So but real estate is stable. It's physical. It's here. It's got tax advantages. So it's where we really enjoy leveraging and building our wealth as well. So, yeah. Very cool.
I think you're right. A lot of it, Richard, is just the marketing, right? Because everybody knows somebody has a stock, right? I mean, through 401k, individual investments, whatnot. But to your point, Keisha, that, it's the letting people know and educating them on the ability that, how you can get into like larger multifamily deals or some kind of commercial asset. People may know somebody that has a house rental, but it's, again, a different scale than actually they're passively investing in a large apartment or actively, as you are or we do, on the GP side of it. It's just but I don't think people understand the opportunities out there for the fact that, nobody has a, Fidelity or BlackRock kind of budget for advertising that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I use my social media to help and educate people as much as possible. I started an educational webinar every month, and I have a guest speaker that can bring some value to my investors, and they absolutely love it. I'm learning, and they are learning with me. So that brings me so much joy to be able to bring value to them so that they can build generational wealth and financial freedom as I have.
Very cool. Yep. Very cool. Yeah. So Keisha, as you were really, again, you figured it out yourself, sort of this real estate investing side, but then as you started, shifting to bigger things and, getting into, perhaps some of the syndication side, you mentioned you started with the LP investing side, but has it been were there some obstacles you had to, overcome to get people to think about you a little differently? You're not just Keisha with a single family rental, you're Keisha in this light.
Yeah. So initially, it's been a year, actually. This month makes a year when I started to transition into the commercial space. And again, this time I was like, I refuse to be self-taught. I refuse to be self-taught. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to read books, blogs. And that's how I came across the word apartment syndication, because honestly, I thought that I had to take down an apartment by myself. And I'm so glad that I took the time out to educate myself. And so at the beginning, most of my followers already knew that I was already investing in the residential, but the new followers, I had to, build that credibility up. Yeah. And so it took a while. I would say I started posting back in May, June timeframe. And one of my posts finally took off in October. And from there, I've gained a lot of momentum really fast. So it does take time. And I had to build that credibility and had to educate, inspire, and motivate others through my social media. Social media is powerful. A lot of people don't realize that it's free advertisement. You don't have to pay for ads. You just have to take the time out of your day and sit down and write a post. Yes, it takes time, but it's very beneficial and it'll pay off afterwards.
Yeah, well done.
And the great thing about it too is it's always there, right? People can go back and they run across your name or hear you in a podcast and like that. They go back and look at what you've written, and it's always there to educate and keep working for you day and night. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. I love social media.
Well, Keisha, can you think about like what was one of your first victories as you transitioned into real estate? It could be either, the first property you bought or when you did the LP, the GP. What was really kind of felt like a victory for you and like decided this is definitely the right path for me?
Yes, the victory that I would say is my first co-GP experience. And the reason being was because this allowed me to use all of the education that I've learned over the previous months and put it to use. You can get all the education that you receive from your coach, mentor, mastermind, blogs, books. However, it's like on the job training, right? That's when it becomes beneficial. It's like, okay, remember I did X, Y, and Z in the book, so I need to apply that in real life. So I believe that was my first victory. And also because we under contract, we were at 75% occupancy. And then within 3 months after 3 months, we were at 100% occupancy.
Wow.
So
Great.
that is a big victory on my first co-GP.
That's impressive. Yeah, that's quite impressive. Yeah, again, it's definitely, for those of you who don't know, taking on something that's got a lower occupancy is an opportunity, but it's definitely a risk, in the fact that obviously you got a lot of climbing to do to kind of get back, to really have the property perform at the income level that you're expecting if you're at a lower occupancy like that. Again, kudos to you guys for climbing that ladder and making it happen. So that's great. So well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Keisha, yeah, absolutely. So Keisha, more recently, and perhaps in your syndication side of things, have you come across something humorous, something you can share?
Humorous and something that I can share. Man, you're making me think on my toes here. You're making me think on my toes. I guess I can share my personal experience when I first started helping raise capital and asset manage. I thought it was going to be easy. I got a list of investors and people were interested in what I was doing. And so I was really excited and like, heck yeah, I'm going to help them, raise capital. Got my first co-GP experience opportunity. And so I realized that it's not easy. Social media will have you fooled. And I assumed that everyone that I was going to speak to was going to invest, people that I know, friends, family. That is not the case. The people that will invest will more than likely be people that you don't know. And that was actually my first investor, someone that I didn't know that I met online on LinkedIn. But I was just shocked that this is hard work. And I look back and I laugh at, okay, I was a little bit ignorant thinking that everyone wants to invest in a deal that I present to them. So I started journaling and, so I can reflect back on how far I have come. But I found it a little bit humorous that I assumed that everyone would want to invest in on the deal.
Right. Of course. Here's
you watch a couple of Grant Cardone's video blogs and you think it's easy, right? Just throwing money at them.
Yes. And a lot of GPs don't speak about that on social media. People that are looking, they see, oh, you close, and they don't understand that it takes a lot of hard work. It's a stressful process. And the real job starts after you close. And I realized that too, after the first deal. That was another joke on me. Like, wow, now here comes the real work. But the real work pays off because it also gives our investors the best return for their investment that they made. And so again, I'm really proud of how we got that occupancy level up within the 3 months after we got under contract.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Keisha, where are you today in your journey? You've laid out a little bit of, you've got your goal set for the end of 2023 to be full-time. And where do you see going from there? You come back to the States, full-time GP investment. Do you have like a 5-year target or where you really want to be on your growth path?
Yeah. Again, the reason why I'm doing this is to educate others, as many people as possible. So I plan on, since I will be back in the States, attending conferences, because that's one thing that I can't do, is attend conferences. I can do Zoom meetings, but it's totally different when it comes to being in person and seeing someone face to face and having lunch. So those opportunities, I'm looking forward to that, as many conferences as I can go to, but mainly just continuing to be a GP and an LP. I want to be both because I do truly enjoy passive investing. I don't have a cap. I'm going to just continue to go as far as I can go. And then I also want to start a fund up this year. I know you said 5 years, but I want to speak about that. I want to start a fund up to help others that cannot invest, the minimum of 50,000. I want them to be able to invest on a deal and start their path in real estate. Again, I'm here to educate, inspire, motivate as many people as possible. So my 5-year goal is just to continue to be a GP and an LP and build up a team so I can sit back and not be so active in the business myself.
Right. Excellent. Gotcha. Yeah. So Keisha, is there anything that you do perhaps to give back, anything that you can share that perhaps you through your business, perhaps personally, something like that?
Yeah. You said, is there anything, can you repeat that?
Anything that you do to give back to others in need in some fashion?
Yeah. So one thing that I love about living abroad is that I get to travel. I can get to countries as quickly as possible and as cheap as possible compared to from the States. So about 2 years ago, I flew out to Kenya on vacation and I fell in love with that country. And I went back 2 weekends in a row. And so I visited the orphanage each time. And I was able to, to donate to an orphanage and then also sponsor 2 children. I'm sorry, that was 3 years ago in Kenya. 2 years ago, my mother came to Kuwait, my mother and my father. And I took my mother to Sri Lanka and we visited. I told the taxi driver, hey, can you stop at a store, a school supply store so we can get some supplies? And so that's what we did. And we just picked a random school and then just gave back. It's a good feeling when you can give back. I'm blessed. I'm 38 years old. I'm a Christian. I was raised in the church. And to give back is just a good feeling when you have more than enough money where you can give back to the community. So I truly enjoy doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bill and I are big believers in giving back, whether it be education through the podcast like this. We run 2 monthly meetings and we also created a charitable foundation. I'll touch on that at the end, but yeah, it is important. We believe strongly that, when you have means, it's kind of an obligation. It's, it's enjoyable, but at the same point in time, I kind of think it's an obligation to give back to help others. So nicely done.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all 3 of us are giving back through education on real estate, investing. So that's also a good way to give back.
Absolutely.
Well, Keisha, is there something you've recently implemented in your business that's helped you scale as you get more and more deals? Obviously, you have more and more on your plate. It could be a CRM, a habit you've picked up, or just something that's helped you achieve some of your business goals as you grow.
Yeah, active campaign, man. Okay. I'm sure you guys are using it or either MailChimp. Absolutely. That has definitely scaled. You don't have to type individual emails out. It's systematic and I absolutely love it. Also, I'm heavy into the gym. I'm a bodybuilder. So being able to work out daily 6 times a week has definitely helped me mentally and physically. It's not just about the physical gains, the physique gains that I'm getting. It's mostly about the mental gain, because if I can beat myself up mentally in the gym, I can take on anything physically. We go under a lot of stress in this business, dealing with investors and deals and things like that. So that is a daily habit that has definitely helped me scale. And also time management, because I have to value my time here with the time difference. So I use time blocking, which has definitely helped me scale as well.
Oh, great. Yeah. I've heard a few people talk about the time blocking. Yeah. It's a good technique.
Yeah. It makes sense. Again, definitely you kind of have to set aside a certain amount of time to do XYZ. Otherwise, it just kind of sometimes falls to the back burner and you never get to it. So you got to do the hard things first. And then, but again, I like the idea of time blocking as well. We use that to some degree. So good.
Yeah. I use it like a timesheet, log my time on what I'm doing and hold myself accountable. Sometimes I'll even do a time audit just to see how long it takes me to eat, or just to, I'm really strategic about my time because, again, I'm 7 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. So I have to use my time wisely.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. So Keisha, is there some advice you might give somebody who is considering making a path change themselves?
Yeah, education. I spoke about that several times. Get educated. You have mentors, coaches, blogs, books, podcasts. And even if you cannot afford a mentor or coach, there are always a lot of Zoom meetups that you can find some education on. There are also some free masterminds as well. So just get educated first, so you'll know exactly what you're getting into, and just start. You don't have to be perfect to start investing. Just know something and then get started.
Right.
Yeah, that's great
Yeah,
advice.
so you mentioned that earlier that no matter how well you do at studying the books, and at your point, you absolutely should have a good base, but you really never will know everything and you'll never know everything. But I mean, even the point of jumping in, you learn so much more on that first deal that you could never study academically to get there if you don't actually make that jump and see, because you don't know what you don't know at the beginning. But it's, if you have a good basis, you can adapt from that point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, we've also talked about this concept as well, that, again, book knowledge is fantastic, but at the same point in time, you got to get in the dirt. And when you get in the dirt, into the actual action, you're going to learn a lot more. It's going to accelerate anything you've already learned from the book. And quite honestly, I really feel like you learn more by doing versus just the book knowledge. Important to build the book knowledge. Actually, we're huge believers in education ourselves. When we at the very beginning, when we started going to meet people and meeting physically in person with brokers, we had people absolutely take us serious from day one because we were educated about what the heck we were talking about. We knew the language, we knew what we were looking for, we had a plan, and it's important for your credibility to really, again, have that background of knowledge. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Keisha, what's the best way for the listeners to be able to reach out and learn more about what you're doing?
Yes, I love LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Keishia Kennedy, Keishia, and also on Instagram, Kennedy Remedy, and then on Facebook, Kennedy Remedy Investments. And I'd also like to leave your listeners with a guide, the Beginner's Guide to Investing as a Limited Partner. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can find that on the website, Kennedy Remedy, Remedy, Kennedy like the president, so Kennedy, Kennedy Remedy Investments with an S /guide.
Very good. And we'll make links to that in the show notes below so they can click through those and get direct access to you. Well, Keisha, we really want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show. Really enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
Yep. Keisha?
Thank you for having me.
I thought you froze there because I know you're coming from out of the country there, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Keisha, thank you. Thank you for being on. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to be here. We'd also like to thank our listeners who tune in. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like Keishia Kennedy on today's show. We'd also like to thank Park Capital Partners that sponsors the show. And I'll mention a couple things real quick. First of all, I alluded to the foundation we created. That is a I always say the letters wrong, so I'm going to look and just double check this. 501c3 nonprofit. And Park Capital Partners funds the operation of that foundation. When investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor that investor to a charity of their choice from a list of 15. And we certainly welcome you to join us that. And then also, finally, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund that is open today. And we are currently under contract with our first acquisition in that fund, which is Terracet Butler. Please reach out to Bill and I. Happy to speak with you at all about being part of apartment investing. Again, we really want to thank you for tuning in. Remember, folks, the Road Less Traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.